Time to cue the Maestro S3. Welcome back, everybody. We have a controller today, the Maestro S3 Wireless Fighting Game Controller. Yes, this is the first wireless hitbox we're going to be reviewing. It's a fairly new controller by ORD, a company I didn't hear of until they emailed us about this controller, and it seemed very promising, and I definitely wanted to check it out, so they sent us one to take a look at, and yeah, let's get into it and find out what's in this box, what do we get with it, and what can we use this controller for? Okay, so let's see what we get inside the box with the Maestro S3 Wireless Fighting Game Controller. As you can see, the controller's right on top. It's really in there though. It looks like it comes with nice silky plastic. Oops, I triggered it already. It's already on. But let's get to the controller after, but let's see what else we got. We got the manual, which is always useful. Learn some stuff about how to use the controller, how to Bluetooth connect, all that fun stuff. We got a USB cord, it looks like, USB-C cord. I have a million of these already, but this looks like a possibly extra long one, which is really, really useful because when you're playing fighting games competitively, Bluetooth is nice, but mostly for casuals. What else we got here? Let's see what else we got. It's a little stand. Since you can use this wirelessly, you can use this on your Switch or your mobile phone to hold it up when you're playing. And do we have anything underneath the box? Well, yes, we do. Buttons. Buttons that do have a lot of nostalgia for me as soon as I see them. Just nostalgia in general, but the first thing that comes to mind is always like Super Nintendo. Not completely sure why, but that's what I think of. What do you think of? Now let's get back to the controller. I do really like the quality, the feel of it. It is a little light, but it is obviously plastic. But it does have a quality feel to it. Obviously we have our USB port, looks like a reset button, probably to reset all the settings after you've changed them. So as you can see with the controller, it's not too complicated. A lot of the option buttons are actually up on the top here, which is useful. The other controller that we did, I like that controller and I still use it, but I don't like so much all the buttons being around all the other buttons. It gets a little confusing at times when you're playing a game. Even though you can shut them off while you're playing, you accidentally do hit them at times. It's neat, but not necessary. I do like the clean look of this build. The one thing you can see is obviously we have our USB-C and our reset button. And one thing that's really cool about this is actually it has a little headphone jack. So you can put a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack in and be able to plug this right into your controller while you're playing wirelessly. Especially if you're gonna sit on your couch and play some fighting games casually. This is actually a really, really good deal. And it's probably one of the first wireless hitboxes I've ever used that has that. So I think that's a really cool feature. But let's get more into this controller. Okay, let's get into the specs of this controller, what it's capable of. As you can see with the giant QRD sign, that's actually the PlayStation touch button, which is useful. I've used a number of controllers where it's like some other odd button you have to hit that button, or it's even not even there, which is a whole other problem because there's actually some games like the Street Fighter Collection where you actually need that button for some reason. They programmed it that way to actually advance to the next menu. So I'm really glad to see a controller with a prime PS4 touch button, which is kind of cool. Anyway, obviously we have our other buttons. We have our R3, L3, which is kind of odd for it to be there because there are actually some games that use it. But if you're playing mostly fighting games, you're really not going to use it. So it's a hit or miss with that. So that's what it is. We have obviously our share button, the turbo button, which turbo is pretty self-explanatory. And obviously options. We do have obviously RGB with this controller. If I get it turned on. So as you can see, it does have RGB. It's in breathing mode right now. And the one thing this controller has that a lot of people are sure going to ask about, because if they want to bring it to a tournament, yes, it has an SOCD cleaner. It has 3 modes, and then it has one mode called easy mode, which I've never seen before, but it says easier combos and easier movement between up, down, left, right. So I'm not sure. I'm not completely sure how that's going to work or what that actually does. It actually doesn't give you a whole lot of instructions of how that works or what it does when I looked it up, but maybe we'll get more into it and test it out and see if it actually does what it says. And I'm sure, so a lot of you wondering, well, what the hell can I use this controller on? Actually, pretty much everything. PS4, PS3, you can use it on the PC, you can use it on the Xbox, you can use it on any iOS device or any Android device. And everybody's favorite console, you can use it on the Switch as well. Now, PS5 is a whole nother gamble. You can use it on the PS5, but you have to buy a separate dongle called the Black Pill from the website. Links will be below for all this stuff. You can go check it out, especially if you want to get a hold of the controller. That being said, all the specs about the controller, why don't we get into testing this controller out and seeing how well it works. All right, right away, I want to test out the Bluetooth function on this controller. Even though I'm right in front of the controller, I can wire it up pretty easy. But the Bluetooth idea intrigues me because it's a hitbox. It's the first wireless hitbox I've messed with. So that's pretty easy. All we gotta do, obviously, turn it on. We gotta hold Q and share, I believe, to get it to work. But as you can see, it'll start flashing actually fairly fast. Go onto your Windows, go over to your little taskbar over here at the very bottom corner and go to Add Devices, Add Bluetooth Devices. We're going to add devices, we're going to go to Bluetooth, and it should show up as just wireless controller. And we're connected. So, and if you're wondering, RGB is really easy to change. You just hold L3 and R3 and for 2 seconds, and it changes your RGB mode. There is a number of other options like the SOCD cleaner. You can change fairly easily. The latency mode, which is interesting to me. You can change on the fly fairly easy. Bluetooth's connected. Let's get into playing a game because I really want to check out how well this actually works. All right, so we have our Bluetooth connected up here. So let's just go into some basic practice. I do say so, testing out here, I really don't feel a whole, like pretty much any latency at all, but it's in the very like high latency mode, which is supposed to like negate the whole latency thing. So yeah, it feels really smooth. Whether that would be good for a tournament, because for instance, like me, if this character's coming at me and I have to react with a certain like move, it's going to be fractions of a millisecond. So to react to that move to hit him before he hits me, that might not always work. But as for playability, this is incredible. Like I don't detect any latency at all, which is great for Bluetooth. Bluetooth is historically kind of known for latency when it comes to controllers at times. So I am thoroughly impressed with the Bluetooth ability on this controller. That being said though, tested how well that works. Let's go to return to our main menu. And why don't we put our feet to the fire, and we're going to do a quick match real quick. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to get a match. Okay, seems as we have a match with a console player. Let's get into it. Bomb no hand. Oh. Bye-bye.
You win.
So, that was a lot of fun. It worked flawlessly online, which is a testament to this controller. To play a game where you have to have such fast reflexes hitting moves just in time to counteract the other person's move and have no latency, I would say that puts this controller pretty high up for a wireless controller. It might even be slightly, could be useful as a tournament, but I wouldn't recommend it just because, not that it's bad, not that it doesn't have bad latency, it's just that there are certain things with Bluetooth that can be finicky, but from what we can see, there's none here. So now we've done some testing on the PC. It works really good, but a lot of people might be wanting to use this on the go, say on your Android device or your iOS device. And the one console everybody brings with them, some people anyway, the Switch.
All right, let's try this out with a beat 'em up. Some green dude. Oh wow, no, it's right on. No latency that I notice. Feels like a regular controller, except it's a little weird using like a space bar as an up button. Oh, I picked up a rock or something. Yeah, a rock. Let's go. Takes a little bit getting used to, but it's actually not too bad. And you can like double, triple jump. Oh, I'm quite impressed with the wireless capabilities. But I am not good at this game. I've never played it. I died. And that was the QRD Maestro S3.
Yeah. I'm the only Maestro in this building.
Oh, come on.
And the Maestro right here, which is quite a good controller. I do have to say, I am fairly impressed with the quality build of this thing and the latency. Like I said, Bluetooth is known for terrible latency with controllers. I've had a few controllers that I would not go near a fighting game with that are Bluetooth. But for me anyway, I do play fighting games mostly wired. But I would, in a pinch, use this wirelessly, as you saw me earlier in the video. And you also saw us use it on the Switch, worked really well. You do have to plug it in the first time you're going to use it on the Switch to make that connection. But after you do that, it'll connect wirelessly. And there's a number of functions we didn't completely show on this video, like the turbo function, the latency switching options, the SOCD cleaner switching options. Those are all things that will be in the manual. If you decide to get this controller, it's fairly easy, but it has an auto latency mode as well, so it detects what kind of game you are actually playing to adjust to that setting. So, but in general, it's a great controller. It is definitely seemed like it's has the options for more of a PlayStation centric, since it does have the PlayStation touch button, and they do sell a separate dongle so you can connect it to the PS5 as well. And as you all most of you also know, the PS4 was the known console that a lot of fighting game tournaments did use. Some use PC now, but I think they are going to be switching to PS5 at some point, so that at some point that dongle will be needed. But the fact that it will work on pretty much anything, except for your PS5 at the moment, is a great buy. It's a really quality build controller, and it comes with extra buttons if you want to switch them out. And the one thing I didn't mention either, it actually has silent keyboard mechanical switches in here, which is why it sounds so great. And the little right ring. The one thing though, the little light rings that are around things, that threw me off a little bit. A lot of the controllers you've seen us build or review here are very flat profile. When I was first using it and testing it out, it was messing with me a little bit, but you get used to it though. The one thing I do have to say, and this is not a criticism toward the latency of it, because we did some more extensive testing, and I was playing some games online with the Bluetooth, and I was playing some more higher ranked people. And some of the counter moves I was doing were getting stopped, which means the button wasn't being hit just as fast as them to counter that move. I was doing the same thing while it was wired and it worked fine. Showing the latency is so minor, unless you're playing at an extremely high level, you're never going to notice it, which is impressive. And the battery life lasts 8 hours. That's 8 hours of continuous gameplay. So the Maestro S3 is definitely a buy for us. This is one of the most impressive hitbox controllers we have used. And I love how clean this layout is. The aesthetic is really nice. It's a matte black finish, which is really, really cool. Shiny buttons, you can switch them out with the colored ones. But I do like the fact that they added none of those extra buttons around the main buttons you're going to be using to playing the game. The last controller we reviewed had that. It isn't a bad controller, I still use it. I do end up hitting those buttons at times, even though there is a switch to shut them off. You still end up accidentally hitting them at times when you're playing. So the fact that they're not all just scattered around is great. And more people need to stick to this aesthetic. That's my opinion anyway. If you want to get the controller, links will be below. Like I said, need a controller on the go pick this thing up. It's a great controller you can bring around to you anywhere, especially if you're bringing your Switch with you and you want to play some fighting games on the go. Here you go. I'm not sure how many tournaments will actually let you use a fighting game controller wirelessly, but obviously just connect it through a wire. And you're sitting on your couch, you want to connect to this, play some fighting games, go for it. Thank you for watching this review. I've mentioned this in other videos, but it's something fairly new. We do have a Patreon. It's only $3 a month. Become an agent in tech, help support the studio and us grow as a channel. And you can join the Discord and see what next video we're going to be working on, or you can see what we're going to be talking about in the podcast, which is a bi-weekly podcast where we talk about gaming and tech of different subjects. You can also check out what we may be currently doing at that moment if we're going to be live streaming or just chatting with fans on Discord. So that being said, we will catch you in the next one. This has been Tech Prime Media.